visited the Western Sahara, the first time I visited the Kingdom of Morocco. I hope it will not be my last visit to both locations, but it would be very dishonest if I didn't say, and I will speak from the heart, I will speak anecdotally. I know we can put the whole jigsaw of experiences and status of Western Sahara into context, but I will speak anecdotally about some of the experiences, and it would be dishonest were I not to say that I did find the trip very unnerving. That is not to say that I want to place on the record my gratitude to the Sahrawi people who organised our trip, and indeed officials from the Moroccan embassy here who organised part of the visit, part of the itinerary for the visit. I suppose my unease was only to last, as Jeremy said, a short space of time. My contention will be that the unease and disquiet I felt in 2 or 3 days, of course, has been experienced by many indigenous people there somewhat longer, indeed for nearly 4 decades. It was unnerving to know that we were unable to meet many of our Sahrawi friends in public places for fear of surveillance or repercussions. It was unnerving that wherever we travelled, we were based in Layoun, we travelled to the port of Layoun, we spent most of our time there, but wherever we travelled, whenever we emerged from private homes where we had meetings with people, we were followed. It was unnerving that when we met the mayor and the governor, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to talk with both of those gentlemen and many others, they knew exactly who we'd spoken the day before. It was unnerving that all the legitimate organisations of Sahrawi people we met had no legitimacy in the eyes of the Moroccan authorities. Only those, and I met, when 3 of my colleagues were preoccupied elsewhere, 15 organisations who accepted the status quo. Only those organisations were formally recognised by the authorities and indeed funded by them. It was galling to enter the UN compound to meet with representatives from Minosa, to stay in a hotel where UN troops were billeted, and to be told that there was absolutely nothing the UN could do with regard to alleged human rights abuses. Not even acknowledge the notices of forthcoming peaceable demonstrations, invariably broken up by the police. That was frustrating, to put it mildly. And it was galling, particularly, and my colleagues no doubt will speak of this, to have direct experience of peaceable demonstrations broken up by the police, and furthermore, democratically elected politicians denigrated with accusations of inciting violence. Now, I only recently got to know Jeremy Corbyn, and I can categorically say that he is not one for inciting violence. Now, I don't doubt that large resources have been pumped into the Western Sahara. Having visited the port of Layoun and seen the hundreds of Moroccan trawlers there, having seen the 100-kilometre conveyor belt transporting the phosphates, I don't doubt that large sums of money, if you look at the housing projects in the city of Layoun, talk to the mayor about some of his other ambitious plans for that town, I don't doubt that huge sums of money have been pumped into the Western Sahara. But what I do question is the division of that wealth, because those whom we visited in their homes have seen very little of that wealth. Others we met, rather more of it. Now, I used to be a teacher, and some of our hosts have obviously done their research and know that I have a passion for education, and indeed stark figures between 1975 and where we are now. The numbers of young people educated in schools from kindergarten, middle school, secondary school are indeed vastly improved. And there are, of course, plans for a new university, long overdue. There are 7 in the hinterland around Casablanca. There is yet to be a university developed in Leon. But what of that education? Is it the teaching of the history of the Western Sahara? Is it responding to the linguistic and cultural needs of a significant minority? Or is it trying to rewrite history under the guise of one side of an argument? I left Casablanca with 3 prevailing thoughts. Autonomy or independence. We're very well used to the debate on autonomy in Wales, and even more used to the debate on independence in Scotland, in this country. If the UN has brokered a ceasefire, we know they have, 1991, we need to see concrete positive action in the case for a referendum. We need that referendum. Basic human rights, we're going to hear from Amnesty and others in a short time. The right to organise, the right to assemble, to peaceably demonstrate. The treatment of prisoners, and we've all read some of the harrowing reports of the experience of political prisoners. The use of military courts. MINURSO needs its mandate extended, and if it is extended, and if there is nothing to fear, there are no grounds for not having that extension. And finally, I thought as we left of the brave people we had met. Perhaps, indeed, perhaps those people were endangering themselves in meeting us, the mothers of the disappeared, the families of political prisoners, the activists fighting for justice for the phosphate workers, the teachers and supporters of the little school we first visited, our first visit, little school, Sahari school for the handicapped. What of them in the days after our visit? Now, I learned that we can't talk about the Sahrawi people as a whole. Should do, but we can't. Huge section of the Sahrawi people are in the camps. Others still remain in their country in the Western Sahara. There are some who are manifestly happy with the role of Morocco. There are others who are not. And that is why we have this all-party group, why we're here, why we went to learn more about their experiences. Those who challenge, who question, who peaceably demonstrate, have legitimate concerns. They have a right to be heard, and the international community needs to be aware. And above all else, I believe now the international community has an obligation to act.